and welcome to Ireland Artcast, uncovering the creative industry with me, Olivia Savage, as your host. Here we talk about all things art, and each week I'll be joined by inspiring acts creatives to discuss creative careers, as well as burning topics in the art world today, to keep that creative mind of yours in action. I think what a lot of people now are trying to do is normalise that conversation of, if you don't know, that's fine too. You can say, can you tell me, you know?
I think ignorance breeds hate, and then people teach other people that hate, and it's just a cycle.
Yeah.
So what we do with our music and what Cara does with their poetry is it's much about expressing ourselves and possibly getting our frustrations and anger out there. You know, you see us on stage and I'm really angrily shouting at everyone. I mean, it's a punk band, what you expect, but you know, it's just as much about getting your frustrations and your emotions out as much as about educating people.
Yeah.
And opening up the conversation so people can come up to you and then question it. And multiple times after gigs, we've had people come up and go, okay, so you said this thing, well, I think this, or well, I thought this. You know, and that's a teachable moment where you can sit back and instead of coming back with anger and no, you don't understand, you don't get it, blah blah blah. You know, it's about teaching them and helping them understand where you're coming from, because you're not going to change people's minds by just shouting at them. Mm. There's all the other parts of that as well, and I think creatively that's kind of why we all do what we do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, we are musicians. And yes, Cara is a poet, but it's all very based around queer issues, really. Obviously, we've got songs that aren't about queer stuff. We've got lots of political songs and stuff about the environment and all that kind of thing. But, you know, it is mostly based around our experiences in life. And it's about teaching people a little bit of tolerance while they're enjoying the music, or not enjoying the music. It might be.
We're getting them to feel something.
Yeah. It's about invoking emotion.
Yeah.
And getting people to ask questions.
Yeah. I think that's a really powerful thing, that creativity can do that, and that psychology of using it as a way it's like distracting people into learning something new, but at the same time it's an outlet for you guys. I mean, I know that I use my art to sort of, or I found with my art that I've learnt more about myself in my years of making and what goes on in my head and that kind of thing. And I think it's such a powerful thing that it can do both things, that you can use it intentionally to tell someone something, but it's also unintentionally telling you something about yourselves. Have you found that as well with your music?
I have, when I've gone to write lyrics for a song, and usually when I write lyrics for a song, I'm usually in like quite a deep headspace. Like, it's usually like my mental health has kicked in, like my depression, my anxiety, and I just kind of do like a word vomit on a page, and then that's when I kind of realize like what I'm going for and what it's about. And then once I read through it again, I'm just like, where has this come from?
Yeah.
And I'm just
this
like,
is what I was saying.
Oh. And then I'll start to like read it back through again, change certain words, and then it becomes even more like relative to situations that I've gone through or going through. And I'm just like, I didn't realize that this is how deep I felt about these situations and what's going through my head at this time and everything else. And usually my lyrics are quite dark at times.
It allows you to collect your thoughts though, doesn't it? I think
yeah.
For you that's quite cathartic.
It definitely makes me feel a lot better getting everything out there instead of just keeping the emotions locked away inside. Because growing up, I've always struggled to get my emotions out to people and to talk to people about everything that's going on. Whereas writing lyrics for songs and doing music and stuff, it is like a major outlet for my emotions to just be let out and just get that weight off my shoulder. And then usually once other people read the lyrics, or if I talk to them about the lyrics that I've written, they're just like, oh my God, like that, I relate so much to that. And it's just like, wow, I'm not the only person who's going through these things. And it's crazy that even still, like I still have those feelings about certain things where I'm like, I am the only person going through this. Like, no one else understands. But then once you get it out there, you actually realise, like, no, you're not. Like, people do relate to things, and you can actually sit down with people and be like, now let's start a conversation because I wrote this depressing song.
Like an interim thing. Like, you don't have to go up to someone and go, let's sit down and talk about it. Instead, you can write lyrics to a song, and then someone else can experience that, and then you're both in the same place together.
Well, I think that's a really important point as well with our band and possibly with Cora's poetry as well, is that we, it's not just about educating the people who don't understand, and it's not just about getting our own frustrations out, it's also about helping the people who do feel alone. You know, if they take something from our music, if they feel something and they feel listened to, or they feel valid by what we're saying, then that's also what we're kind of going for. Do you know what I mean? We want other people to feel like they're not alone, because that's what creativity has done for us. Do you know what I mean?
And going off on that as well, and what Mathea said as well, with my poetry, I found, particularly performing, recently, actually, I've had individuals after my poems either still in tears, or told me that that really got to them, and of various backgrounds, I can only guess, that I've either touched on a nerve, with something that they have felt themselves, and again, not feeling alone. But alternatively, there's been individuals who said, I've never thought about it like that before, I remember one chap came up to me the other day after my performance, and he said that line, help them see it through your eyes. That really resonated in me. Obviously, I was quite taken aback at the time because I'd just come off the stage and I was like, oh. Anyway, and I didn't really have much to say. But, reflecting on that now, that I could have, I could potentially have changed that guy's mind on how he's perceived, not just LGBT people, but just people in general, and like people's experiences, possibly even something that he's going through right now or struggling with friends, family. Yeah, you don't really think about that when you're writing it. I think it's quite like, oh wow.
I think
reality.
When you bare your soul like that on stage, it's nice that it's allowing other people to kind of walk in your shoes. Essentially.
Yeah, and definitely, like as you said, Mathea, like it's like word vomit all coming out.
Yeah,
and it's not, and you're just like, well, it's just what I felt like saying at that point, and it's like in the same way that you might look back and you go, oh, like that's what I meant, that's what I was saying, and someone else looks, coming in from the outside and they go, oh, like that's so powerful, like that really made me think about this, and you don't even realize what your work is doing, because to you it's just what's always in there, you know. So you're always living with it, kind of thing. And bringing forward to today, where do you guys think the island stands in terms of acceptance and understanding and educating?
I thought we were further along than we actually are, right up until quite recently. I've obviously always known that there's been issues, but I myself have seen, obviously I work with young people, and some of those young people are LGBT, and the experiences that they're having now, even though they have their own difficulties with growing up LGBT, they're very different to what I experienced in school. There's a lot more people that feel more comfortable coming out and stuff, and it does seem a lot more socially accepted, and that's very much with the younger people. However, in light of recent things that have happened on the island with certain bars, I'm not going to name any names right now, but it's kind of pulled a lot of questions up from people, and it's pulled a lot of people out of the woodwork as well, that are asking questions or just saying comments that you really wouldn't expect someone to be saying in 2021, And I think the fact that Pride is coming up now, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the past couple of weeks, every time I've, been out, I've had someone go, well, why do we need it? Why do we need Pride? We don't need you shoving this on our face. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's the reason we need it. Do you know what I mean?
To change that thinking process.
Yeah, and it's, it's really tiring and exhausting at the moment. As much as it's great that it's Pride Month and that we're finally getting a Pride festival, as much as that's fantastic, it's very tiring having to explain your existence to people over and over again, and why that is important. You know, and I think since the announcement of Pride and since June Pride Month has started, it's became very obvious that there's a lot more people on the island that are less accepting than I originally thought there was. I thought that it was the minority who were just very loud about it, but there's actually a lot of quiet homophobic people too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes that can be a more dangerous thing.
Well, I think they felt empowered by the ones that are being loud.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when certain people are given a voice and a platform to spread misinformation, ignorance and hate, and especially when those are places that are respected and, you know, listened to, you know, I think all the people that were quietly homophobic then go, oh, well, this guy or this girl or whatever, this person's saying this thing, and they're on, you know, a public platform, so that must mean it's okay to be like that. And it almost empowers the homophobic people to come out as well. Do you know what I mean? And that's good in a way, because it means that we can then challenge it, whereas before we might never have had that conversation. But it's also very worrying that these people in 2021 are still being given platforms to speak ignorance and hate.
Yeah.
And we've just got to continue doing what we're doing and challenging it. But, you know, like, a couple was attacked recently. Obviously we're not going to give any details or information about that because it's not really been released, but, you know, it made me kind of think, oh God, you know, what's going to happen to me if I go out? And I remember you guys were going on a night out, I was going elsewhere, and I just sat down with you guys. I was like, right, guys, you be careful then, you know what I mean? And they were like, yeah, it's fine. But deep down we're all thinking it might not actually be fine. And it's that fear that all of this has brought up, that you know, we're not maybe quite as safe as I thought we were, especially now that Pride is so much in the public eye.
And I think it's sorry, we can say something.
I was just going to say, sorry, that it has, like you said, with, even though it has been horrible, the events that have happened recently, it is also kind of, like you said, brought to light how much education and for future potential people need to learn still. And hopefully this Pride will have that space to be able to make sure people know more about LGBT lives, as well as people in general, I feel, as well, you know. And I think because Pride will be a reoccurring thing, it's going to be a topic for a long time.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah,
well, this is the thing, like, when people say, why do we need Pride? And it's like, because you're trying to make the point that it's not just for Pride. Like, now's not just the time to be gay or the time to be trans. Like, it's not just this month. Like, it's just about using this time to put the focus here. To then carry it on long term.
Well, I think a lot of people don't know what Pride actually comes from, and I think Mathea
I was just about to say that.
Explain.
Go on.
I'll let you take this one over.
In my opinion, in light of everything that's going on, I think a lot of people have just interpreted Pride as it's just a festival for gays and queer people to just run riot through the streets, and it's a day all about them and everything else, and throw glitter everywhere, when it's really quite the opposite. It's more of a fact of, ever since like the Stonewall riots that sparked protests all around the world for equal rights, it's a memoriam for that happened, and it's a remembrance to the fights and the causes that have come from that, for people to be seen as equal to the straight cisgendered people in the world and everything else, who haven't been discriminated against in life. And it's just a time for people in the LGBTQ community to come together and support each other and have open discussions with each other and talk about what needs to happen in the future and everything else. And with Pride, the first Pride happening on the Isle of Man on Saturday, I do think it's gonna open up a large discussion on the island of how many people are actually against the LGBTQ community on the island, because I, growing up, have always been very opinionated on Manx people growing up. Growing up, I used to be ashamed to call myself Manx because of how discriminatory and racist the Isle of Man is. And it's only within recent terms off the nightclub that had problematic messages given out that I saw like how large people came out to support the LGBTQ community, and that was mainly the only fact that I was like, oh, there is a large base on the island that is very supportive. And I do think, though, that it's going to come with a lot of hate, and we are going to see a large number of people coming out in against the LGBTQ community on the island. If there isn't, I will hold my hands up and say I was wrong, and I'll be very surprised. But in my experiences and everything else, that's what it's going to come down to, which is why we need this to be like, we need to be together. This is our time to become in unison with each other and help each other out and raise awareness that, you know, we are here and we do need more support to become equal with everyone else. Because it's the same with like equality and equity. Like the equity comes into it that we just need an extra boost to be seen as equal to everyone else. And also I've always said, like, if you don't understand something, how can you see something as equal? So Pride gives that chance to educate people, so people get the knowledge that they need and the information that they need, so they can then form their mind as, oh yeah, you're not a lesser human being to me after all. Like, you are just a human being who just wants to have a job, have a family, you know, like every other person.
Yeah, I think what you said there about equity is really important, because a lot of people see Pride as, oh, you want special treatment, you want extra, you have to have this big, gay, fabulous party. Well, what do we get? Where's straight Pride and all this? And I think what it really comes down to is exactly what Mathea just said, is it's not that we're asking for something extra or for something more, but we need this because otherwise you won't see us. You know, at the end of the day, nobody leaves their house thinking, I'm going to be attacked for being straight. You know what I mean? Like, nobody has that fear. That's why straight people don't need a Pride festival. You don't need holding up in front of people and going, look, this is okay, this person exists and that's okay. Whereas LGBT people, a lot of us still need that.
Yeah. And it's definitely like, I mean, if you look at the incident with the nightclub as well, it's brought awareness in such a contrasting way to what Pride intends to do. It's like, it shouldn't take a bad experience to be talking about it and raise awareness. Like, Pride is a tool that can be used to shed light on these things in a positive way and encourage discussions and challenging discussions as well as just like, you know, positive ones. It's good for people to come out and go, but I don't know if I feel that way, but that's because I don't understand. And then you can have
I mean, I had this conversation with a woman recently, and she had the same thing of, oh, well, why do you need Pride and all this, and why do you have to shove it in our face and have a big party, just be gay and get on with it, sort of thing. You know, and I said to her, I was like, look, Pride started off as a riot. It started off as a black trans woman throwing a brick at a police officer, right? Pride is now marking how far we have come, and now we don't need to riot. Now we don't need to throw bricks at people. Pride has gone from a riot and now it's a party. And I said to her, I'm inviting you to this party. Come to this party and join us, talk to us, meet us and understand us, and maybe your view of Pride will become more positive.
Yeah.
Just like Pride itself has become more positive.
Yeah. And then just as a final note to finish off, so advice for listeners, for young creatives and or young people who identify within LGBTQ+, where could you advise them to go to find like-minded people and to find help? Cara, if I could start with you.
I was gonna say as well, like with the light of things, it's really good for the younger people to see how older LGBT people have dealt with these circumstances and situations, and to find support. You've got the LGBT Youth Club, you've got Soundcheck, as Jenny will be there, you've got Isle of Pride. We're currently working on a lot of things in the background that will be coming eventually to education as well at some point in the future, without giving too many details away. But in that area, we've got a long way to go as well. There's probably more places that I might have missed out today, but So there's to name a few.
Yeah. And Mathea.
Number one, I would say soundcheck.
Yeah.
Mainly for the fact of, obviously, like, it's a biased answer because I'm friends with Jenny, and I used to go there as well when I was younger. And being at soundcheck when I was younger, growing up through it, like, that was, no one cared who you were, what you were about. They were just like, you play guitar, want to join our band? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
Well, the small group of friends you were talking about was your bandmates.
yeah,
I don't know.
but they were all like, no one cared what sexuality, gender you are, and it's all inclusive and supportive and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously Isle of Pride is working on stuff as well for people. And I guess just me, I am like a walking info desk for these things. Like, I'm always there wanting to help everyone out who's in two minds of coming out or needing help with any issues or anything else, or support with transitioning or gender issues, sexuality issues. I'm constantly getting stopped by people on nights out talking to me about people in their family who have come out and they're struggling to come to terms with it, and I've helped them out and spoke through it. Like, some guy came up to me one time and was telling me that their child has just come out as trans and he's scared that he's losing his son. And I was like, well, you're not losing your son. Like, they're still always going to be the same child that you've grown up with. It's just that to them, they never were your son.
Mm-hmm.
They are your daughter. They've always been your daughter. And I know that that takes time to get used to. But as long as you're there for them and support them along the way, like, no matter what, they will always cherish what you've given them and always love you, and they will always be your child.
Mm-hmm.
And it is obviously deeper conversations than just that help people. But yeah.
I think the biggest part of advice I could give to young people, especially those who are struggling with their sexual and gender identity, is do get involved in the arts, whether it's music, down with us at Soundcheck, or it's at the Youth Arts Centre doing art or drama, whatever it is. Please do use something to express yourself and find your people. You know, those people aren't necessarily always going to be LGBT. There's a lot of heterosexual, cisgender people that'll help you too. I just want you to know that you're not alone and that there are these spaces for you. Do seek them out. Don't be scared. Come and talk to us, because it doesn't matter what gender or sexuality you are. If you're cisgender, transgender, non-binary, if you're straight, homosexual, bisexual, pan, whatever, come and talk to us. We will accept you and we will help you express yourself through whatever art form you want. Come and find the creatives, because we are here for you.
Yeah, and stuff does get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it might feel like it's a mile away right now, but it will get better. You're young, and you hear that all the time, but you have no idea. The minute you leave high school, your bubble's going to pop. The whole world's going to open up.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on and sharing your stories and talking to me today. No worries. A quick note before we head off for another day. If you're listening to this, then you've lasted through a whole episode, which I'm going to guess means that you enjoyed the show, which is amazing. In order to help Island Artcast reach out to more creatives, we really need your help. So please remember to rate and review the shows you've listened to and enjoyed. Even if you didn't enjoy them, you can still rate us. If you're an avid Island Artcast listener, subscribe or follow the show on your podcast platform. These things only take 2 seconds out of your day to do, but mean the absolute world to the show, so please show us your support. Other than that, remember to keep up to date with all the latest Arts Council news on our website, iomarts.com, and by following us on social media. Just search Isle of Man Arts Council on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to all our listeners out there and to my guest today. See you next episode.